Today's episode is brought to you by Squad QL. If you want an unfair advantage to dominate your fantasy football league, well, look no further than Squad QL, the only mobile app you need to crush your friends and rivals this year. Squad QL recommends the best starting lineup for each week based on your starters, your bench players, and the free agent pool. Head to squadql.com to download the app for free. Again, that's squadql.com. Download the app for free.
Hi, this is Matt Forte of the New York Jets, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Redraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Welcome in.
You went out there.
Where we're going. It always turns off at a certain level.
Roads.
Welcome into the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
You were a jet engine.
Andy, Mike, and Jason. Yeah, that the plane's going down. Welcome in.
man.
Thanks for joining us once again. It's Wednesday, September 27th. And look, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all of our listeners. Thank you for all the very kind reviews and endorsements of the podcast on social media and on iTunes and wherever you're listening. I was browsing a few of those today, and we don't have a review source on the show today, but I just was reading them, and they were very kind, and people they enjoy the show, and we're always listening to feedback and trying to make the show better. So I just thought I'd say thank you to start the show as we head into what is this, week number 4?
I saw Andy yesterday, or before he was reading these reviews, and then it was like the Grinch. When his heart grows, you know, at the end, that's what happened after he read those reviews.
Yeah, I don't like the kind of referral that I'm the Grinch regularly.
Just let it wash over you, man.
Thanks.
Yeah,
All right.
That's a weird compliment.
Yeah.
Well done, Mike.
It's my specialty is backhanded compliments.
We have an absolutely great show, jam-packed today. We have Pump the Brakes on the episode today. We have some news. We've got Keep Trade Cut. We have,
Matt Forte.
Matt Forte joining the show today. And it was great talking to Matt Forte. We'll share that with you, give you some insight into his injury. And I think you'll really enjoy that. And then we'll preview the Thursday night game and get into the mailbag if we've got time. Like I said, jam-packed.
Can't pack any more into the jam.
No, you cannot. So, the quick question of the day, we're jumping right in with O'Reilly.
O'Reilly.
Auto Parts.
Ow!
Got Pump the Brakes.
Who we pumping?
Right out the gate. Pump the Brakes is a segment
We're
where
pumping
each
brakes,
week,
Jason. Only
each
brakes.
week we are telling you a player that we're saying watch out.
All right. Well, since we've got the car theme here with the pump the brakes,
Do you need me to send in the car?
No, we need to. Well, maybe send it into O'Reilly because it's going to need some work. Look, Derek Carr, I said last week I was going to pump the brakes this week, and I am a man of my word. He stopped a little early. He got off
short
on the wrong exit last week. But his upcoming schedule, look, the offensive line looked poor. Their upcoming schedule, Denver, Baltimore, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are all good pass defenses for the next month. Those are divisional opponents that Derek Carr has struggled with through his young career so far. I am looking to move Derek Carr and trade him. I'm pumping some brakes.
No, I like it, and I'm going to stay in the same on the same roster.
Oh, take that, Oakland, is what you guys say because you don't like that team.
Marshawn Lynch. It's time to move him. It's time to cash in on the name if you can.
Really?
I do. I think so. Look, through
You are
Mr.
Mr. Marshawn.
Yeah, but we got to be water, not stone. And
Okay.
While I don't think Marshawn has looked like he's lost a step, his role in this offense, and ultimately through 3 weeks, he's the 30th ranked running back. Can you trade him for better value than the 30th ranked running back? Yeah, right now you can.
Maybe.
Marshawn has a name. He's on a good team, and I'm just a little bit concerned. Now, do I think that he's going to score more than he has right now? Probably. But I'm pumping the brakes on him because he's playing Denver. And Denver, through the last 2 games, has given up 2.1 yards per carry to the running back position. Basically shut it down. Less than 10 points per game fantasy given up to the running back position. And Marshawn doesn't get all the production in Oakland. So it's just it's an obvious pump the brakes situation for me. I think you got to just this week, it's a tough start. It's the same thing I'm facing with Michael Crabtree this week. Banged up last week, plays Denver this week.
I would not recommend it.
Well, I'm staring down Devin Funchess or Michael Crabtree.
Right.
It's probably Funchess.
That's where I'm leaning. And I'm playing you. So thank you for that.
I would definitely play Michael Crabtree.
So, Mike, you're circling back. You are more of a teams man.
Yeah, we've gone full circle here, and I'm pumping the brakes yet again on you could say the entire Colts offense, but more specifically, I'm talking about the Colts wide receivers. We were talking about, you got to start your studs.
But Mike.
Yes, voice of public opinion.
T.Y. Hilton was like 150 yards and a touchdown last week, you idiot.
Because
Voice of public opinion was
combative.
very mean today.
T.Y. Hilton is a stud.
What a Grinch, right?
But
there's only one Grinch.
But he does not have his stud quarterback throwing him the ball, and they are going into the Lions' den. They are going to Seattle.
It would have been better if they were going to Detroit with that comparison.
I see what you did there. I just meant that they are going to be eaten and gobbled alive. T.Y. Hilton is he's a start your stud for the fact that it takes one play, one broken play, and T.Y. Hilton has your week's worth of production. But it's going to take that one broken play against Seattle. I'm not banking on it.
Okay,
maybe
so
look at Crabtree or Hilton.
That's what I was going to ask you. It's Crabtree or Hilton, because Hilton does have the one broken play mentality. I don't think Crabtree has that. They're just going to have to move the ball on Denver and get in the red zone and use it.
I saw Keenan Allen score a touchdown on Chris Harris. It
can be done.
Yeah, it can be done. I would go Crabtree, assuming that he's okay from his injury. But
do you remember when
T.Y. Hilton in Seattle? The fact that it's actually in Seattle, terrible things are going to happen to that Colts offense.
Do you remember when the Broncos defense hadn't given up a touchdown to a wide receiver for the majority of the year? Hasn't played out that way this year. We just talked about how good the run defense has been. You can almost throw Buffalo out the window last week. Only 6 receptions by the wide receivers, but they don't have many of them. They did score a touchdown, though. A wide receiver scored last week against Denver. Dallas had a touchdown. The Chargers had 2 touchdowns against Denver's secondary with their wide receiver core. So it's it's interesting. They're still in the upper echelon. I just think it's interesting that some players have found the end zone more often. But you heard it here. Pump the brakes on Marshawn, Derek Carr, the Colts wide receivers and their offense. And that was Pump the Brakes with O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices, better parts every day. O'Reilly. Let's talk news.
News and notes from around the league.
Sometimes people ask me, how do I follow your show on Twitter? And I tell them at the FF Ballers.
That's a really good way.
That's the answer.
That's the best way.
All right, news and notes. Matt Forte considered week to week, not expected to play this week.
I believe this is why you had a bit of a chuckle when you said we were talking to Matt Forte.
Yeah, because
because look, the conversation with Forte is it's great.
Yeah, it's
not every time you get an NFL player on, they're open and give real answers. They shut down into their coach speak and don't give. Forte was awesome. A good interview.
It was great.
Yeah. And then, he's going to miss some time to focus on interviewing.
Yeah.
So he's going to be week to week. It wasn't a great matchup.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great matchup for him against the Jags. But now that the backfield share of touches is going to go more in Bilal Powell's way, I think Bilal Powell
could go McGuire's way.
Well, McGuire had a really bad fumble last week, and you already saw Bilal Powell last week with the majority of carries. So I think it's very firmly Powell's role, and because we saw it last week, I think he has enough to be stream-worthy this week because he's involved in the passing game.
So you're going to go – you're resurrecting Bilal Powell after you buried him?
Unfortunately, yes.
Just fortunately.
Well, he says unfortunately because he traded him away.
I traded him away.
But that is how the people now know that Bilal Powell's fine.
Yeah.
because he's no longer on the Reapers team.
Hey, I did not reap A.J. Green.
That's true.
You're
You traded
welcome.
for AJ. Yet.
Big,
Stay tuned.
Big news. Chris Johnson's going to remain the, quote, starting running back for Week 4.
Why?
Because they don't have a better option. Andre Ellington needs to be involved in the passing game.
I would go. I would ride Andre Ellington into the ground if I was the Arizona Cardinals.
I think they need him to be lined up outside more often, and I don't think you can ride him into the ground unless you're talking like you get a half of football out of him. And that doesn't serve a purpose.
That's fine. I'll take the half of football.
They have a great matchup this week.
Yeah, at home against San Francisco. Now, there are huge offensive line problems. Yesterday, I talked about Carson being my stream of the week because their offensive line was getting better. It looks like that might actually be wrong. Now, DJ Humphries, the left tackle, looks to be coming back, but their best lineman, Mike Iupati, who's great, he is not going to be back this week. Their other guard tore his pec. He's out 2 to 4 weeks. So while you get one guy back, you're still down one, and then you're missing your other guard. I think it's going to be rough for Carson.
Okay. Are you officially retracting?
No, I'm not retracting because it is still the Niners, and they don't quite have a very good pass rush. But I'm just saying when we're talking about Chris Johnson, Andre Ellington, the opportunities there, you look at it, you want to look at it as here's an offense that can score taking on a bad defense. I think you've got a poor offense against a poor defense. And granted, hey, that worked out for the Rams.
Rams might not be a poor offense.
They might not.
Considering they have more points scored than any team in the NFL, including the Patriots, through 3 weeks. Doug Baldwin says he anticipates playing in Week 4, said that the injury was not serious, but it could have been.
His groin.
Yeah.
Oh. No, this is not because it's okay. It's an ooh.
Ooh. My groin.
Thank you.
Randall Cobb and Ty Montgomery were practicing. I don't know where you guys were going. Randall Cobb and Ty Montgomery were practicing in full on Tuesday. Cobb optimistic will play. Remember, that's a Thursday night game this week. All right. Frank Reich thinks Wendell Smallwood.
It's like there's no doubt Wendell Smallwood will be in for an increased role. Yeah.
Because Sproles is gone.
Darren Sproles is gone, and those touches have to go somewhere.
Another potential streaming running back option for you.
I think that I talked about him on the waiver show. I think he's a great pickup and see what happens.
All right. Cairo Santos, injured reserve kicker for the Chiefs. You're going to have to find another kicker if he was yours. And then a lot of people have been asking about Josh Gordon. They want an update on Josh Gordon's situation. I told the guys in the studio yesterday it feels a lot like a boy who cried wolf situation now because we've been optimistic and hopeful and wishful thinking
20 times before.
Josh Gordon. So you're kind of saying, But here's the deal. He returned to rehab in June to try to show the NFL he was worthy of reinstatement, and that treatment ends on September 21st, or ended. And that's basically what we know. He has the opportunity to ask for reinstatement.
Yep.
He hasn't played in a game since December 21st, 2014, and been suspended for 43 of the past 48 games.
If Josh Gordon is on your dynasty team, you've been holding on, don't cut him. But I am adding him in 0 of my redraft leagues.
Yeah. Redraft, I wouldn't add him until something happens. It's not worth the speculation. Mike, you of all people know that just because you have the opportunity to apply for something, when the other people
you're going with this,
when Twitter doesn't want to verify you, they will reject you. And so Josh Gordon can apply for reinstatement.
Well, here's the thing: at least Josh Gordon gets like his official rejection. Twitter doesn't always tell me.
They just.
So it's like, whatever.
The Josh Gordon thing, it's 2 giant battles. There's battle 1, just getting reinstated, and then battle 2, being fantasy relevant in any way, shape, or form with Deshaun Kaiser and the Browns and not playing for 2 years.
People forget that the final year that he played, he wasn't that good.
Right.
Because the year before, he was a monster, but he still played in, I think, like 6 games, 4 or 6 games that year before he got the boot, and he wasn't good at all. He had, I think, week 1 he was great, and then he was terrible for a couple games.
All right, that is it for the news. Let's move it on.
Keep Trade Cut.
All right, keep, trade, cut. Very excited to get into this segment.
Did you forget how we played?
How did we play this last year?
We go down through each guy, and we say whether you should keep him, whether you should trade him, or whether you should cut him.
That is very true.
This segment has been in high demand, and maybe it hasn't been there because I forgot how we played it.
Well, we're back.
It's pretty simple. I mean,
the name kind of tells
the name
the story.
are the instructions.
Keep, trade, cut. Got it.
You got it.
All right. Who's the first candidate?
Cameron Newton.
Love Michael Keaton.
I am cutting Cam Newton.
So he's got the Patriots. He's got 2 road games coming up: Patriots, Lions, then the Eagles. Cam Newton he's not well.
I'll put it this way. Last night, I actually ironically traded for Cam Newton. It wasn't for him. He was just in a package sending Drew Brees away, and I'm looking to the waiver. Like waivers are going to run for us here in a couple minutes, and there's quarterbacks in that list because I would rather play several of the quarterbacks that are available in our league's waivers than Cam Newton this week.
Yeah, I think you try to trade him on the name if you can.
Yeah, if there's a Panthers fan.
And then I would say you cut him if you can't.
You're not just gonna do a speculation hold here for Cam Newton.
New England is a great team to play right now if you're a quarterback.
So are the Saints.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was not good.
Yeah, but
I would cut Cam as well.
Derek Carr, keep, trade, cut.
I'm going to hold.
Man, you're going to keep?
A trade. You just said you'd trade him. He's
Yes.
got to be your trade.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Trade. Yes.
Did you forget how to play the game?
No. I was.
He did literally just say I would trade Derek Carr.
No,
so I
what
assumed
happened there?
That would mean
I'm
you
thinking whether or not I would cut him. That's where my brain was at because
Okay.
we were talking about cutting. Do you cut?
No, you
Cam
can't
Newton?
cut Derek
No, and
Carr.
that's
He's
what
a
I was saying.
trade
You
for
don't
me.
cut him, but you do trade him.
Isaiah Crowell.
Gets the Bengals.
He's a keep for me still.
Gets the Jets. Gets Houston.
I think he has to be a keep because the only way you're trading him is on the cheap, and there's no value there. You're just losing a running back.
I'm in high alert for Crowell. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen.
He was a maker. I thought about pumping the brakes on Duke Johnson, but that didn't go my way with Chris Thompson last week with the kind of passing down back. Look, Crowell, it's all game script. The Browns have not led at any point in any game this entire season. They're the only team to have been in a deficit at all times when they're not tied 0-0.
Which should not shock people.
Well, that's true, but you would expect them to be leading in some game at some point in time, in which
By
case
accident.
even some defensive play.
The Jets won a game.
That's a very fair point.
So he's a keep though because he's a running back.
You don't have another choice right now.
All right, what about
keep him?
Let's move to Washington. No, literally, let's
Oh.
go right now. No, Terrell Pryor, Jamison Crowder, keep, trade, cut. Tough decisions on both of those guys.
And they have the Chiefs. Tough match. It's generally a tough matchup on the road. The Chiefs' passing defense has been allowing some things to happen, but then they have a bye week right after that, and then San Francisco, which is very juicy, especially at home. I would. I think I would hold. I would keep. I would keep both of them.
I would look to trade these guys. They still
both
have
of them.
Yeah, I think they still have a big enough name where people still believe and buy into Terrell Pryor. And
that's funny. I have the opposite opinion. My point with Pryor was going to be you're pot committed on your draft capital, so I'd probably keep him to see if he can do anything. But I don't think anybody wants him.
Yeah, I would
What name does he have? I mean, he's never done anything in Washington.
I would consider.
Didn't you just trade him like yesterday?
I did. I had to include draft picks to even move him.
And I would consider trading for Terrell Pryor. I would try and get him cheap just because
it's not going to get worse than this.
Yeah, I mean the upside is there. If Andy had not traded Terrell Pryor in our league, I was fixing to try and buy him low.
That's interesting. Huh.
Well, I guess you combine everything that's been going on with what you said. Kansas City at Arrowhead, bye week. I'm going to trade for him in a couple weeks.
That's fair. Just remember, we're past the first 2 weeks, and it's this really strange things where Kirk Cousins he's been bad week 1 and 2. It just takes him a while to get going.
For fantasy.
Yes, for fantasy.
Yeah, got you. All right, Dante Moncrief. Keep, trade, cut.
You can cut him.
I went to cut him in our league. I was on the drop page, and I thought, no, I got to try to get a trade, and I traded him for pennies on the dollar, but I got something out of him.
Yeah, and one thing that Jason did that was strategic and smart about that was he sent him away for a late-round draft pick to the Andrew Luck owner.
Yeah.
So the stack is attractive to players. So if you that's another thing for even the Terrell Pryor situation. You want to trade Terrell Pryor, maybe that stack is attractive to the Kirk Cousins owner. Who knows? Martellus Bennett, keep, trade, cut. I think you keep him. Tight ends have been rough.
Yes,
so,
tight ends have been very rough, but I would trade Martellus Bennett. There are other options available. I mean, you saw Lance Kendricks catch a couple balls. It's never really been a tight end friendly scheme. I know we've talked about the merits of when Jermichael Finley was there and everything, but talking very recent history, the tight end has not been someone you want to play,
especially while they have 3 other good receivers.
Right,
Those are going to get
and
the
3
targets
tight
first.
ends.
And Richard Rodgers is still there.
Lance Kendricks.
I would trade Martellus Bennett and try and get some value.
Yeah, Bennett's in a situation where you're basically saying they get in the red zone, he chooses to go Bennett's way, and you have that touchdown that makes him relevant, just like Ryan Griffin last week.
I would much rather have Ryan Griffin.
There you go.
Because there's actual volume there.
All right, quick pause on the Keep Trade Cut. We're going to go through a couple more, and then we'll get into the Matt Forte interview. Before we do that, I want to thank NetSuite for sponsoring today's show. Look, NetSuite, here's the announcement. It's for you business owners, business leaders. Tell me if you said any of these things. Why is it taking accounting so long to close the books? How come I'm not getting sales info on a real-time basis? We beat our revenue goal, but we lost money, etc. Sounds like you've outgrown your business management software if you said those things. QuickBooks and spreadsheets may have worked fine at the start, but now there are too many mistakes, delays, and you cannot get fast answers. I want to tell you about the #1 business management software for growing companies, and that is NetSuite from Oracle. NetSuite lets you see what's going on with your business in real time, whether it's revenues, expenses, customers, orders, even your HR, and you can run your business from a dashboard on your phone. With hands-on help, you're up and running fast with NetSuite, and that's why thousands of companies across America use NetSuite. It's 10 times larger than the nearest competitor, and it's the last business system you'll ever need. Go to netsuite.com/fantasy to get your free guide called Overcoming Your 5 Obstacles to Growth. That's netsuite.com/fantasy to get your free guide and find out how NetSuite can simplify your life. Go to netsuite.com/fantasy.
We want to thank Pristine Auction for sponsoring the show, ladies and gentlemen. Pristine Auction, the best sports memorabilia site anywhere in known existence. I'm on it right now.
You just snagged
we just got
Evan Ingram jersey.
A signed Evan Ingram jersey. It's fantastic.
You were talking about this hot Tom Brady replica signed Lombardi.
Yes, I mean, and they have everything for all budgets. I mean, I got that. I'll tell you. I got Evan Ingram's signed jersey for $40 on Pristine Auction because it's an auction format. You can steal some things.
It's just so funny. Like, you go to the store, you want to buy an Evan Ingram jersey,
Yeah.
it's going to cost you more.
Yeah, I'm going to get one that is signed by Evan Ingram. I'm going to put it up on my wall. But like I was telling you before the show, they have a replica Lombardi trophy from Super Bowl 51 signed by Tom Brady. Now, that's a little bit of a big baller type of an item. But
that's
they have
in the 3,000 range.
They have everything on there. They have new items every single day. Make it part of your routine. Just in the morning, fire it up, see what they got going for the day, put some bids in. So check out Pristine Auction. That's PRISTINE auction.com. You make a completely free account, and when you do that, let them know the Fantasy Footballer sent you.
All right, I want to throw a few more names out there, and this segment's great because it lets us address the situation tons of fantasy owners have with these players on your team. So Amir Abdullah, keep, trade, cut. To me, that is an absolute keep. Even though he hasn't scored, he's been getting you kind of 10-point baselines every week.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Amir Abdullah, at least at this point, does not look like he will translate into a high-end starter, but he's getting running back 2 volume. So he's involved in the passing game. He's a safe play. It seems like like Andy said, his floor is fine, but his ceiling is also right near that floor. But that you still need those guys on your team.
Yeah, you would have hoped to see more big plays from him over his career after the way his career started. Tyrell Williams, keep, trade, cut. For me, he's a cut.
Yeah, he's part of the wide receiver waiver fodder.
Travis Benjamin has been the wide receiver too, and that's a little scary for me because I've got Tyrell Williams in a couple places. But
they paid Benjamin to be that guy.
You need to just keep your eyes on it to see if there's consistency. Obviously, right now, there hasn't been consistency with that offense. Is Hunter Henry involved? Yes, no, yes, no. And then same with Benjamin and Tyrell. It might just be that way the whole year. I would say Tyrell you can cut.
All right, let's talk about Lamar Miller. What is he for you guys? Keep, trade, cut. For me, he's a trade.
For me, he's an absolute keep because, I mean, Amir Abdullah is, we're saying you keep him because he's a running back who gets enough volume to be that running back 2 or 3, and that's what Lamar Miller is. I'm not afraid of Deonta Foreman. Deonta Foreman's the better running back there, and he will get work. And he'll be valuable, but he might just end up helping Lamar Miller's fantasy value because they'll continue to move the ball, have more offense, have more production. And Alfred Blue, when he was there, he had 100 carries last year. So it's not like Lamar Miller is going to – they run the ball so much that there's enough volume for both guys.
Yeah, I think the difference between a keep and a trade on that is what you believe about the next 6 to 8 weeks and Deonta Foreman's involvement versus Lamar Miller's. I definitely see if you don't buy into Deonta Foreman really hurting Miller, there's no reason to trade him.
Yeah, I would keep Lamar Miller.
J.J. Nelson, he had a goose egg after a 22-point week. He's got San Francisco, Philly, Tampa Bay coming up. Keep, trade, cut on J.J. Nelson.
Absolutely keep.
Yeah,
I
would
mean,
keep him for now.
He was inches away from having a great day. You see a goose egg and you go, wow, he was completely uninvolved. Carson missed him on like a 50-yard touchdown bomb where he had beat his guy, and he missed him by about 2 yards. And then there was another really long bomb where he caught the ball, made these great toe taps, and then didn't complete it through the to the ground. So I think you keep him because the Cardinals need him, and he's been involved.
Adrian Peterson, keep, trade, cut.
It's tough to cut a running back, but you can cut Adrian Peterson.
I think you still try to trade him on name value.
Yeah, you can try, but I don't think anyone's going to trade for him.
I cut Adrian Peterson this morning.
Yeah,
in our league of record.
A man,
and I signed.
Who follows his words.
I cut Adrian Peterson to sign an injured Matt Forte.
Yeah, the volume is not there for Adrian Peterson, and he has to have volume or goal line carries.
He's had opportunities at the goal line, have not converted them, and even if he did convert 1 or 2, like you said, the volume's a problem.
I mean, Adrian Peterson, and I'm going to jump this guy up in the list, he's just like Paul Perkins, where if they're on your bench, you will be tempted to play them. And if you play them, you're going to be sad.
Don't do it.
You'll be very sad.
It is hard to cut the name, but that's all you're talking about here. If his name was Paul Perkins, then you would probably be like, oh, I'll cut Paul Perkins from accounting. But you won't cut Adrian Peterson.
Poor Paul.
It's unfortunate.
He didn't name himself.
No, he didn't.
Try to throw Adrian Peterson with another guy in a trade because the name value might bump something up. And if you can't get that done, then cut him.
I think a great example of that would be if you can trade Adrian Peterson for Bilal Powell today because you get the name. Bilal Powell's going to be more involved than Adrian Peterson next week. All right, Eric Decker, Mike, keep, trade, cut.
He's in the Tyrell Williams category.
Oh, fodder.
You can cut him.
No.
All right. It's unfortunate.
Well, let's just continue down the
disagree.
line here. Oh, I don't. I would cut Eric Decker if I had a better option.
If I had to, I mean, he's not a must cut. Like
Decker or Nelson, who would you rather have on your roster?
Nelson.
Okay.
I'm keeping Decker.
Okay.
Ted Ginn Jr.
Ted Ginn Jr., I still believe in him. The first 2 weeks, if you watch the games, I mean, he was getting end zone targets. It was very close. It capitalized last week with a 40-yard touchdown. But Willie Snead is back. What will it look like? What will his role look like with Willie Snead back? Will he be the one losing his role, or will it be Brandon Coleman?
No, it'll definitely be more along the lines of Brandon Coleman. I mean, Brandon Coleman plays closer to the slot like Willie Snead. Ginn is the outside guy. I think this helps Ted Ginn. I would hold Ted Ginn right now because the offense, it was missing Willie Snead, and you could tell that with losing Brandon Cooks and Willie Snead, it was a little too much. And they looked better last week, but I think Willie Snead coming back, the offensive line is also getting healthier. So I think this offense is going to start chugging the way that we're used to the Saints chugging, and that's going to help, the Ted Ginns of the world.
Yeah, for those of you though that think that you can plug and play Willie Snead, I would be waiting. I mean, the team is very happy with how Brandon Coleman's played in the slot. They've already said that there's no guaranteed workload for Willie Snead this week. Sean Payton came out and said that. Depends on how he practices. I think you're going to see, Willie Snead eventually take that job back. But right now, I know they're very happy with Brandon Coleman there. Let's go ahead and move on. We had Matt Forte on the podcast. We're going to share that interview with you right now.
You talking to me?
All right, the fantasy footballers are excited to welcome in New York Jets running back Matt Forte. Matt, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So right out of the gate, I want to congratulate you guys on the big win this weekend. Congrats on the win, and how are you doing physically? How's the toe?
I'm doing well. A lot better than I expected. Post-game, I was walking with kind of a limp. My toe was – I had turf toe, and it was bothering me a little bad. Good to see that the x-rays, I didn't have a broken toe or anything like that. But, today I had treatment the last, over yesterday, all day yesterday, and then this morning, and I'll probably go back this afternoon. But, I don't have a limp anymore. I'm not walking like that, and I'm feeling pretty confident that, it'll continue to heal during this week.
Well, great to hear that. One of the things we ask all of our guests on this show is, when Marshall Faulk came on the show, we were asking him what his opinion of fantasy football was, and it had just started taking off when he was in the league. What is it to you? Do you hear a lot about it? Is it annoying, or is it something you appreciate about the game?
I think it's both. It's both. I appreciate, the fact that, it gets fans out of their own home, team that they like, where they can like players from all over the league, and I think it makes the game bigger, where it reaches out, to more than just one team. And then also the negative part is just, people, all they care about is, fantasy stuff, when I'm in real time trying to, in the real football league, trying to win games, to go to the playoffs and, a Super Bowl. So, all they care about is points.
Yeah,
we may have even won a game, but if you don't score enough points, you don't satisfy them.
Yeah, that is one of the negatives, I'm sure, being hearing from fans. I know one of the things in the fantasy sports industry as analysts, we're trying to tell people, look, stop adding at the players on Twitter. Stop calling them out for fantasy-related things. Look, we enjoy fantasy, but that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. That's, I think, one of the reasons why a lot of guys shy away from it, because, Twitter is vicious and can be that way, especially when it comes to fantasy football. And, you get a lot of backlash from people talking about their fantasy teams when, you want them to care about the real team. And
yeah. Well, one of the things, you have a ton of rookie running backs this year. Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, Tariq Cohen, Dalvin Cook, that are making huge impacts as a rookie. That was something that, you did in Chicago. You had over 300 attempts as a rookie, 8 touchdowns. What do you think it takes to come into the NFL out of college and be able to make a mark so soon? And why can some running backs do it and some cannot?
Some of them, when they come out of college, they're just physically just prepared. They're prepared to do that. And, I think sometimes along with that physicality, they have to be mentally prepared for a longer season as well. NFL season is much longer than the college one, so they have to be prepared mentally for that and physically. So, some guys, I think you can see running backs come in and make an immediate impact because, I think they can adjust to the speed of the game pretty quickly throughout preseason and through training camp, and then take that forward into the season. And especially if they are talented. Obviously they're talented enough to get into the NFL and be drafted, but talented enough to, be put in a good scheme where they can, emphasize what they do best.
How much do you think it matters what collegiate scheme you come out of? Do you think that has a big impact or not really?
I think it's more of an impact for quarterbacks than for running backs. Running backs, if you can run the ball, whether it's out of the gun or under center or in the spread offense or the pro style offense, I think you can run the ball. If you can run the ball, you can run the ball. I think it hinders quarterbacks when they come out of a style of offense that's, not necessarily what pro offenses run. It may, deter them from a little bit of growth, or it may hinder them from, immediate impact when they get into the league. But, I think it's more prevalent in the quarterback position than running back.
Oh, that's good insight. One question I had for you, look, there was a lot made this offseason about everything that took place in New York, a lot of the veterans leaving the roster. Obviously, you're a veteran that is still there with the youth movement, had a big win this past weekend. Talk to me about what are your expectations for this team, and what has that experience been like for you as a veteran, kind of seeing a lot of change take place?
Yeah, for me as a veteran guy, seeing a lot of my veteran teammates, get released. Fortunately, most of them were picked up by different teams, but seeing them get released like that, it just draws a light to something that I think a lot of the fans don't understand because they don't experience it as much as we do, or a lot of times it's not talked about, which is the loyalty of the game. There really isn't any. I mean, it's a business. And, you see teams all the time when there's something, they may have a guy under contract, but if they're not performing like they want them to, or it may be because of money, they end up releasing them or cutting them. And so there's no loyalty right there. But then if there's a player who may be outperforming his contract and he wants to hold out or wants a better contract, then, fans get mad because they're saying he's not being loyal to the team. Or if he goes to a different team that gives him a better contract and it's a better situation for him and his family, and that's the decision he's making, then they say he's not loyal. So it's kind of,
double standard.
Double standard, yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I think, when we got started in this industry, I don't think we understood that aspect as much as we do now, having been around the game a lot longer. And I agree with you. I agree. I think that we have generally been on the player side of that argument because you're right. The second that a player stops doing exactly what you want, there's not the guarantee built in, and that has to be a frustrating thing. I'm sure it was a difficult transition for you leaving Chicago.
Yeah, definitely. Being in the place for that long and you put, so much into a team, whether it be, playing while you were injured and, you knew you had to go back out there because, you just, wanted to, you didn't want to, disappoint fans or you wanted to be there for your team and sacrifice you make for the team, that you do those type of things. But then in the end, nobody, if the team has the decision to make, they don't remember those sacrifices. It's kind of, I've heard it many a times when I first came into the league too. It's kind of the "what have you done for me lately" type of mentality. So, you have to continue. Each year is a new year too, and you have to continue to impress and show up. So, the loyalty factor is kind of a double standard.
Yeah, that's interesting. Look, just focus on fantasy football, okay, Matt? That's the main focus. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Comcast and Xfinity.
Yeah, something really cool, especially for fantasy football fans and owners out there. Comcast has teamed up with CBS, where while you're watching the game on TV, you can pull up your fantasy team. If you're in a CBS league, you can pull up your fantasy team and see how the stats are going and if you're winning the game against your opponent. But also, maybe if you're not in the CBS league, you can still pull up the stats of all the players on the same screen while watching the game. So you don't have to, look away from the game to get on a computer or get on your phone to try to look up stats and things. You can get them all on the same screen at the same time and not miss any of the game.
Well, that's great. I think I saw some people on Twitter already talking about that, and appreciate you sharing that with our listeners. I'm sure they'll love it. And thanks very much for coming on the show.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, we're back. Thanks to Matt Forte for joining us on the podcast. You heard the news today that Forte is going to be week to week. You could kind of hear it in that interview that it felt like he broke his toe. It seemed like he felt like there was a more major and significant injury there, and so you're going to have to wait for him to get back into the fold. It sure looked like in week 2 that he had the majority of those carries. He was actually productive with them. We'll have to see what happens in the next few weeks. I want to transition to talk about this Thursday night matchup. The Bears, fresh off their stunning defeat of the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are in Green Bay taking on the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. We expect to see Randall Cobb back on the field. what are you looking for in this matchup? We had Jordan Howard return to form last week. You've seen the explosion capabilities of Tariq Cohen. Where are your start-sit decisions in this game, and what are your thought processes for the fantasy world on this one?
This game, I'm sticking with the basics on it. Jordan Howard is a must-play. Tariq Cohen has worked his way to be an absolute must-play.
Not over, would you say, as a flex or as a running back too?
I would play him as a running back too. Do you guys disagree with that?
I think he's more of a flex play.
I would agree he's more of a flex play. That's always going to depend on your roster. I mean,
would you play Jaquiz Rodgers this week, or would you play Tariq Cohen? Jaquiz has
the Giants.
The Giants.
I would play Tariq Cohen.
Has the Packers.
I would play Cohen.
Yeah, I would as well.
Okay, all right. So you're keeping it simple.
What
Cohen and Howard.
Also along with the simple is I'm not playing any Bears wide receivers
or the tight end because Zach Miller's been not so good.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Miller has not been great, but neither, in fairness, has any tight end. I mean, like, the tight ends out there in the world are just so garbage that I think Zach Miller is in the same realm of he could end up with 6 catches, and there's very few guys that could. So I wouldn't be happy to start Zach Miller. But
you saw Adam Shaheen scored last week. He's obviously being more involved.
Would you rather start Zach Miller or Martellus Bennett in this game?
I'd much rather start Martellus Bennett.
It would be Bennett.
Yeah, right. Don't give me something.
Miller's not. He's in the lower end of that barf stew.
Here's something that's interesting to me when I think about this game, and right now, while we're still in that transition period of getting the trends for the season, is what are the Bears? Because coming into the season, the Bears were one of those teams you thought were going to compete for that #1 pick. They just looked bad, and then injuries and all these problems happening. But they just beat Pittsburgh. They should have beat the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, if Jordan Howard catches the ball, they win the game.
Right.
They're the 12th best team right now against fantasy quarterbacks, having never given up more than 1 touchdown to a fantasy quarterback this year.
And that's having played good ones.
Ryan, Winston, and Big Ben, and they've given up 24, 16, and 16 fantasy points. So their defense in the secondary has been outstanding.
And part of that's because of their running game. They've got a great offensive line. They've got Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen that is able to
shorten the game
and make it harder on the opposing offense because they're not on the field. So I mean, I'm not saying obviously you're not going to bench any of the Packers, so it's maybe irrelevant when you've got this good of an offense. Maybe you bench Randall Cobb worried about the injury.
So I feel like maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but Jameis had a fine game against them. It wasn't anything spectacular, but that was the Bears on the road. So Jameis put up 204 and 1. So
that's not a fine game. That's a bad game. 16 fantasy points. Probably finished in the late teens that week.
Sure. Like I said, maybe I was misremembering it. I remembered the Mike Evans touchdown. But I don't have any concern here with the pass catchers for Green Bay. Jordy's every week. Ty Montgomery's every week. I guess the question then is, do you play Adams with confidence? Do you play Randall Cobb with confidence? And, of course, if Randall Cobb plays, Geronimo Allison is nothing.
Yeah, I play Devontae Adams every week.
Okay.
You're just looking for those touchdowns, and if you don't play him, you're not going to get the games where he gets it. So I think that's what you drafted him for. Randall Cobb, you just got to keep monitoring the health. He worries me a little bit.
Well, I mean, he's practicing in full, so he's going to play. The question is, will you play him for fantasy?
No, I probably wouldn't. I think I'd have other flex. I'd probably play Funchess over Cobb this week with Kelvin Benjamin and Olsen being out in the matchup.
If I was in a PPR, I would play Cobb. Just thinking about how their tackles have been for Aaron Rodgers and the pressure that he has been under, he needs the quick release, and that's been Ty Montgomery and that's been Randall Cobb. And if he's there, he will use him. And I don't expect a lot of yardage or a touchdown, but I do expect quite a few receptions if he's in.
I just have a really quick update since we're talking Funchess a few times.
Is that Brooks?
Yeah, it's Brooks over here.
Judge
Brooks.
Giamatti. Welcome.
Kelvin Benjamin is practicing today.
Okay.
All right.
So I don't know if it's limited or full. I can't tell that. But
that's good news. some perspective through 3 weeks, the Packers are running the ball the second lowest amount in the NFL. That should give you some confidence with those pass catchers, and that's why Ty Montgomery, with the ability to catch the ball, his floor is still, what was it last week, 8 catches for 15 yards or 13 yards?
Last week it was
He
ridiculous.
averaged 1.8 yards a reception, which is like impossible unless you get one reception.
That's an accomplishment.
All right, we're going to move on. Let's get into the mailbag.
Mailbag.
Was there a hairball? Did you cough something up at the end?
I attempted to, but it didn't come up.
Another
working
quick
it out.
update.
Oh,
Brooks,
Judge,
do I need to hit the button on this one?
Welcome.
It's just Luck is not going to practice this week.
Ooh.
The chapter just tweeted out. So
Ooh.
His name is not working out for him.
Glad
right
I
now.
traded Moncrief when I did.
Yeah.
Luck's practicing this week. Moncrief.
just to be clear, yeah, he's not practicing this week.
No, I know. Yes, I am aware. I'm saying that was in my argument for selling Dante Moncrief was that he was going to.
All right. Let's jump into the mailbag. If you have a question, go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, or you can dial our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. We're going to start off with a voicemail question, assuming that I can play it and it can be heard. Otherwise, we won't.
Well, let's move it on then to
Hey guys, love the show. I just have a quick question. I was wondering, since Will Fuller sounds like he's coming back, would he be a good pickup for like a flyer, or is there a better pickup? Thanks for answering the question, and love the show.
I have my thoughts on that. Do you guys want to jump in? Or
I think he's an okay stash. I mean, it depends on the size of your bench, of course, but he can fly. Deshaun Watson has looked okay. You know, maybe that was the Patriots making him look that way. But I think that Will Fuller, because of his big play ability, he's an okay stash.
I'm interested in your thoughts on that.
yeah, my thoughts are that you don't really need to worry about him. I mean, nobody in the league is getting more of the target share than DeAndre Hopkins. They don't pass as much as other teams, and they don't want to necessarily take. I mean, you're waiting for a big play.
Yeah.
I admit that, but I'd rather take Ted Ginn with Drew Brees for the big play
Exactly.
than I would Will Fuller.
Yeah, I think the volume isn't enough where you can accurately start him in the right matchups. You know, you're just going to get a random 50-yard bomb 2 times over the next 10 weeks, and to hold him and be tempted to start him and get the zeros in the meantime, I would stay away.
Hey guys, just picked up Andy Dalton and the Bengals defense this week or yesterday, and I have Joe Mixon on my squad. Is it a good choice to start all 3 against the Cleveland Browns? Thanks.
Yep.
You're going mega stack here?
Yeah, I have no problem with that at all.
I'm playing Joe Mixon for sure.
They need a win bad. Their offense played much better last week, and they're facing the Browns, and the Cleveland Browns have given up a lot of points to fantasy defenses.
Did you hear the Tony Romo call on that play where they scripted the first 20
Yes.
plays on offense for the Bengals, and they came out and they looked great, and they scored, and they had more points than they had the whole year, and then Tony Romo, after those first 20 plays, goes, okay, the 20-play script is over. I think the Packers will have an easier time stopping them. They scored like 3 more points the rest of the game, and that was early.
Script more plays.
I know. This just in, we're scripting 100 plays for the upcoming game.
It's very much like our show. We script the first 4 minutes of the show, and then from there on
It's
it's just a mess.
Yeah.
Just a dirty old
We
mess.
have no idea what we're doing.
Where are we? All right, moving on. Ryan.
elderly gentlemen?
Ryan's question, would you drop Cam Newton to pick up Tyrod Taylor? No, not with the matchup this week. If I had to stream one this week, I'm still playing Cam Newton over Tyrod Taylor. I don't – these guys like Tyrod against Atlanta as a stream. I do not. I like Cam Newton against New England better.
Yeah, that one's tough.
I
You
was
wanna water
hoping
bet
you'd
that?
do that
Here
one,
we go.
baby.
Water bet.
Tyrod versus Cam. Let's go.
Let's go. Mike and I water betting Cam Newton and Tyrod Taylor.
No one's going to deserve to win that bet.
Oh, it's
At the
gonna
end
be
of the
great.
week, someone's going to win when their guy got 12 points.
I just want to win with Cam Newton on my side. I want to root for him. All right, this one comes in from I guess you didn't answer it, did you? I guess you well you
I
did.
would.
You
Yeah,
did. But
I'd rather
Jason?
have Tyrod.
It's super incredibly tough because I had like I said, I just got Cam in our league of record. I was looking at Tyrod on the waivers. I guess I ultimately decided to not choose him. So I guess that means I would go on the Cam side. Certainly not water betting that.
Through 3 weeks, Tyrod Taylor's the 17th best fantasy quarterback. Cam Newton's 26th. So Mike has the numbers in his favor on that one. How do you feel about Dez going forward, asks Martin Hijerild.
Fantastic.
This was, I talked about with Dak. They opened the year with such a tough schedule, and after that, it opens up. Obviously, they're in a division where he's going to have tough corners, but I love Dez. I think Dez is going to be great. I think Dak is great, has been great, and will be great. He is the only quarterback right now that has had a top 12 performance every week.
Here we go.
Dez has touchdown capability to protect him against inevitable duds yardage duds against these big corners. He only had 2 catches last week, but he scored.
Yeah, that's true. We knew it was going to be tough against Patrick Peterson, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. But Rams, Green Bay, bye week, San Francisco, Washington, the Chiefs, the Falcons. I mean, Dez Bryant has a great stretch coming up.
Outside of the Norman game, I like everything I see there. So, all right.
Trade for Dez.
This one comes in from Adam off of Twitter. He says, coming off a suspension, is Willie Snead going to be a good wide receiver 2 option against Miami this week?
No. As Andy said, there's no guarantee of volume. He could be, but you're not going to start him. You got to wait and see with that, which stinks because then it's the bye.
Streaming quarterback question from Chip in Dayton. Wondering who to start this week, Andy Dalton on the road against Cleveland or Trevor Siemian against the Raiders at home?
I think I would. It's Wednesday, which means we are diving into our rankings, which happens. The deep dive happens after the show. My gut reaction is I would play Trevor Siemian.
Yeah, I mean he was your guy.
I think both are playable.
Both are certainly playable, but I think that Siemian would. I'll give him the
benefit of the.
I'll give him the ceiling.
Yeah, I could see that. This one is a trade question from Jeff in Vancouver.
Oh,
would you
bonjour
trade Pirine for Galladay? Nope. No,
I mean, I would.
Is Pirine have value moving forward?
I think Pirine's in a situation right now that. So I this morning I said I think Rob Kelly is one of my favorite buy lows right now. Like just with the injury, go buy Rob Kelly. His role is secure. However, if he was hurt, like let's just pretend for a minute. Let's say Rob Kelly's out for the year, just hypothetically right now. He's on vacation in Aruba. And now you're sitting here and you're saying, well, what is it going to look like in the backfield? I do not believe that the Washington Redskins can afford to ultimately punish Pirine, right? Like, you can't do it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that he was injured on that play, and I actually think Pirine would end up with value if for the rest of the year Rob Kelly was out.
You'll see it this week because I doubt – I mean, they very well could, but I doubt they have all 4 of their running backs active for that game. So if Rob Kelly plays, I would look and see if Mac Brown is active and if he gets involved. If Samaje Pirine is the backup, then I'm not worried about Samaje at all.
Yeah, we still need more information. That's the truth. But when you have invested in a rookie,
here's the thing: look at last year, Matt Jones, and when you're talking just like efficiency numbers,
he was playing great.
He was playing well, and they had drafted Matt Jones. They moved up to get Matt Jones, and then he was fumbling away. So they said, "We're going to go to an undrafted rookie."
Yeah, that's all true. But
it wouldn't shock me if they said, "Okay, we're going to bury Pirine for this year."
Jay Gruden came out and said that Chris Thompson will be begging for more touches and will not get them. That was the exact word.
It's smart of him. It's smart because
I get it,
his injury history going back to college, Chris Thompson, they're using him perfectly, obviously. I mean, they're getting the value out of him. They're keeping him healthy. I think that's wise.
Just Gruden is a curmudgeon, man.
yeah, that's true.
Gruden, if you're not careful, you might turn into Jeff Fisher. Just throwing that out there. Be careful, man.
You may transform.
Yeah.
If you start seeing a few hairs on the upper lip of Jay
out.
Gruden start to creep over, that is
you need to run. You sell all Washington players.
To his credit, he's doing a good job with that team, and they've been competitive. The defense looks very impressive, and despite the fact the offensive turnovers happen, they've managed to win some games and to find offensive strategies to let Cousins kind of come along with these wide receivers. So I give him a lot of credit for that. As Mike said, all of our rankings, the Week 4 rankings, they will the initial rankings will be up on the website this evening on Wednesday here for Week 4. So check out that on thefantasyfootballers.com. Check out that on.
Very nice. And the tip of the day.
Oh, it's a good tip.
Drop it like it's hot, people. Waivers ran. Make sure you see and investigate who was dropped in your leagues.
Yeah.
You may be shocked to find someone that you want to add immediately.
Tomorrow may become your favorite waiver day.
Yeah.
Because of somebody that's been dropped for the new hotness. Maybe somebody went after Mercedes Lewis, and all of a sudden you can snag a Ben Watson after the bad week, and just, if you need a tight end, maybe that works out
and just
for you.
Weird things happen. I had someone on Twitter it reached out and said, Jordan Reed got dropped in my league. Do I pick him up?
Of course.
Don't even ask me that question. Of course you pick him up.
I'm the anti-Jordan Reed guy, but yeah, if I can get him for free on waivers, his ceiling is where very few other tight end ceilings.
Absolutely. And we do want to remind you that if you want the premium projections for each week, as well as the flex rankings, and now the consistency rankings that you loved in the Ultimate Draft Kit are now part
for the 2017. It is awesome.
They're now part of jointhefoot.com.
Yes, join up, support the show, help us out, get these things over at jointhefoot.com. But I was asked the question of who's a good buy low candidate, or I think they wanted my top 5. And I hopped right into the consistency charts because it was so easy to see, like, who's a guy who just had a bad week. He had a bad week this week, but he was good before that. And you could just scroll down, see the colors. It was awesome. I loved it.
All right. That is it for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be getting into the Week 4 matchups. Very excited about that. Hopefully your fantasy team's doing well. If it's not, you got plenty of time to bounce back and win that title.
Draft.com/ballers for some DFS. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.